So you want to save the world. Well, I got a few questions for you. First of all, how do you think you can save the world if you haven't even saved yourself? Next question is, who says the world isn't already saved? And last question, at least for now, is, once the world is saved, what then? We're going to do another reading tonight from A Course in Miracles from chapter 1, The Meaning of Miracles. And this is section 3, Atonement and Miracles. And I'm going to play a little song that will make more sense once we do the reading. Spirit is in a state of grace forever. Our reality is only spirit. We are in a state of grace forever. All we need to do is just remember. Step into that ever-flowing river, out beyond the shores of tide and time. So forgiveness comes to the forgiver. So we surely claim what's yours and mine. Spirit is in a state of grace forever. Spirit is in a state of grace forever. Spirit is in a state of grace forever. Okay, now we're going to do this reading from that section, Atonement and Miracles, chapter 1. I am in charge of the process of atonement which I undertook to begin. When you offer a miracle to any of my brothers, you do it to yourself and me. The reason you come before me is that I do not need miracles for my own atonement, but I stand at the end in case you fail temporarily. My part in the atonement is the canceling out of all errors that you could not otherwise correct. When you have been restored to the recognition of your original state, you naturally become part of the atonement yourself. As you share my unwillingness to accept error in yourself and others, you must join the great crusade to correct it. Listen to my voice, learn to undo error, and act to correct it. The power to work miracles belongs to you. I will provide the opportunities to do them, but you must be ready and willing. Doing them will bring conviction in the ability, because conviction comes through accomplishment. The ability is the potential, the achievement is its expression, and the atonement, which is the natural profession of the children of God, is the purpose. Quote, heaven and earth shall pass away, means that they will not continue to exist as separate states. My word, which is the resurrection and the life, shall not pass away, because life is eternal. You are the work of God, and his work is wholly lovable and wholly loving. This is how a man must think of himself in his heart, because this is what he is. The forgiven are the means of the atonement. Being filled with spirit, they forgive in return. Those who are released must join in releasing their brothers, for this is the plan of the atonement. Miracles are the way in which minds that serve the Holy Spirit unite with me for the salvation or release of all of God's creations. I am the only one who can perform miracles indiscriminately, because I am the atonement. You have a role in the atonement, which I will dictate to you. Ask me which miracles you should perform. This spares you needless effort, because you will be acting under direct communication. The impersonal nature of the miracle is an essential ingredient, because it enables me to direct its application, and under my guidance, miracles lead to the highly personal experience of revelation. A guide does not control, but he does direct, leaving it up to you to follow. Lead us not into temptation, as a quote, means, quote, recognize your errors and choose to abandon them by following my guidance. Error cannot really threaten truth, which can always withstand it. Only the error is actually vulnerable. You are free to establish your kingdom where you see fit, but the right choice is inevitable if you remember this. Spirit is in a state of grace forever. Your reality is only spirit. Therefore, you are in a state of grace forever. Atonement undoes all errors in this respect, and thus uproots the source of fear. Whenever you experience God's reassurances as threat, it is always because you are defending misplaced or misdirected loyalty. When you project this to others, you imprison them, but only to the extent to which you reinforce errors they have already made. This makes them vulnerable to the distortions of others, since their own perception of themselves is distorted. The miracle worker can only bless them, and this undoes their distortions and frees them from prison. You respond to what you perceive, and as you perceive, so shall you behave. The golden rule asks you to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This means that the perception of both must be accurate. The golden rule is the rule for appropriate behavior. You cannot behave appropriately unless you perceive correctly. Since you and your neighbor are equal members of one family, as you perceive both, so you will do to both. You should look out from the perception of your own holiness to the holiness of others. Miracles arise from a mind that is ready for them. By being united, this mind goes out to everyone, even without the awareness of the miracle worker himself. The impersonal nature of miracles is because the atonement itself is one, uniting all creations with their creator. As an expression of what you truly are, the miracle places the mind in a state of grace. The mind then naturally welcomes the host within and the stranger without. When you bring in the stranger, he becomes your brother. That the miracle may have effects on your brothers that you may not recognize is not your concern. The miracle will always bless you. Miracles you are not asked to perform have not lost their value. They are still expressions of your own state of grace, but the action aspect of the miracle should be controlled by me because of my complete awareness of the whole plan. The impersonal nature of miracle-mindedness ensures your grace, but only I am in a position to know where they can be bestowed. Miracles are selective only in the sense that they are directed towards those who can use them for themselves. Since this makes it inevitable that they will extend them to others, a strong chain of atonement is welded. However, this selectivity takes no account of the magnitude of the miracle itself, because the concept of size exists on a plane that is itself unreal. Since the miracle aims at restoring the awareness of reality, it would not be useful if it were bound by laws that govern the error it aims to correct. Okay, once again, a lot said there. As in all of these sections, the entire course is chock full of things that you might need to reread 100 times. We're going to talk a little bit about this. I want to say, let's preface this by saying I highly doubt anyone has a complete understanding of A Course in Miracles and truly can interpret it with 100% surety of what they're saying, including myself. Let's just bring up some things here that might be worth thinking about and talking about. Obviously, Jesus is talking. I keep making the point, and this is something to think about, that Jesus is giving the Course to Helen, And Jesus is basically saying here that he is the atonement. And he says, there's an interesting line that is worth taking into consideration. Remember, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for his or herself. Now, there's a lot of, language here that is, the pronoun is generally masculine, right? So it doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to everyone, men and women. That's a whole subject in itself, but the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for his or herself. The atonement is essentially the idea that separation from God, or the separation from God, never happened. Nothing happened. We are still in God, in the love of God. We are still there. There absolutely is nothing to fear. The ego is nothing. Love has already won. Love is one, and there is no even winning or losing, because there is only love. When you have been restored to the recognition of your original state, you naturally become part of the atonement yourself. Okay, so Jesus is saying that he is in charge of the atonement. And actually, this section starts with an interesting line that is worth, it's hard to understand what this exactly means. But he says, I am in charge of the process of atonement, which I undertook to begin. Now, what does that mean? I undertook to begin. It probably means that Jesus was the first. The first, and this is the understanding that Jesus was the first to go all the way back to God, to become one with the Holy Spirit and remember God. Now, people ask, well, was Jesus really the first? Weren't there people before him, like Buddha, et cetera, people that we don't even know about? And the answer is, not that there, there's different answers that you could give, but we tend to think of time as linear, and this is saying that, essentially, that there is no time. So Jesus being the first actually doesn't mean much at all. I mean, we're all Jesus, and I think what he's saying is that when you recognize who you truly are, just as I did, you recognize that you and I are one, that there's no difference, there's no separation, and you become part of the process of atonement, and you become the teacher of teachers, what the Course actually calls a teacher of teachers. So he mentions a great crusade. I think that's kind of a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So he says, as you share my unwillingness to accept error in yourself and others, you must join the great crusade to correct it. Listen to my voice, learn to undo error, and act to correct it. Obviously, this is not a crusade to kill anyone, to hurt anyone. It's actually the opposite. It's a crusade to remember that you do not need to attack anyone. There's no reason to fight fight for the truth. Now you can correct in yourself your own errors, your own mistaken ways of perceiving, and that would be the crusade. Correcting within yourself, and not even necessarily needing to correct anyone else, only yourself. That's the sole responsibility of the miracle worker, is to accept the atonement for him or herself. Now, the other thing I want to point out here, and this will probably be it for tonight, is the golden rule is mentioned here. It's not really mentioned too much in the Course, but I think it really, Jesus gets to an important point here, which is you respond to what you perceive, and as you perceive, so shall you behave. So the important point here is, it's not really, we tend to put so much emphasis on what we do. And the golden rule is generally stated as, do unto others as you would have them do to you. And Jesus is saying, really, the more important is how you perceive. That's going to make all the difference in what you do, in your action. The golden rule asks you to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This means that the perception of both must be accurate. The golden rule is the rule for appropriate behavior. You cannot behave appropriately unless you perceive correctly. Since you and your neighbor are equal members of one family, as you perceive both, so you will do to both. You should look out from the perception of your own holiness to the holiness of others. All right, so this is, bottom line here is seeing everyone as you would choose to be seen in the highest sense, which is unconditional love, and seeing everyone as God, no different. Seeing everyone as the same as you, no different. You're equal. Everyone is seeking love just as you are seeking love. Everyone wants to return home just like you do. Everyone is holy. Everyone is whole. Even if they might not look it at this moment, that's what they really are. And when you see that in them, you see it in yourself, and they also see it as well, because you are seeing them that way, and they remember from your seeing them that way. They remember that's what they are, and they also will see that that's how you feel about yourself. And it's a loop in a good way. And so the golden rule, the golden rule is problematic because do unto others as you would have them do to you. Now, let's say, to take the example of missionizing or trying to convert, you might think, well, I would want someone to come and save me, or save me from hell, or so I'm going to do that to them because that's what I would want, But the problem with that is that no, not everyone wants that actually, and that's the problem with the golden rule. Because what I want for myself done to myself is not necessarily what anyone else wants for themselves. But the Course is saying that we all actually do want to be seen as not everyone wants that either, actually. But on the surface, not everyone wants, to be seen as being of unconditional love, maybe. But everyone really does want that. And you don't have to say it in words. You could just, it's just what you embody that has the effect. You don't have to preach anything. You don't have to convert or missionize or anything. It's just who you are and how you perceive, that you perceive in alignment with the Holy Spirit, which is the Spirit of God, which is the Spirit of pure unconditional love. Then that makes all the difference. And anyway, I think that's good for tonight. These videos are pretty long. I don't know if anyone is, please leave me maybe a comment if you are watching this and you are enjoying this or appreciating this at all. I would love to hear from you. And like the video if you like it, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And I will be doing this fairly regularly now. I'm going to try to do one a day. And I'll do some short videos too. So thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye-bye.